Hi, my name is Abhishek Banik. I'm the head distiller at Copper Rivet Distillery in the Russell Distillers Group. Welcome to the presentation today about an innovation in gin still design and distillation technique using the still called the Banik Still. I'm also being the inventor of the still, so I will take you through in a brief introduction of the still, of the technology, also explain to you the rationale behind the invention, the patent, the primary techniques of the still, and the benefits that you get. So our presentation today will mainly be focusing around the benefits, and we will conclude our findings on it. So let's get going. To explain this gin still, the inception of this idea was triggered during a distiller's dinner at Vintners Hall in 2007. That was my first year at the distiller's dinner when I was a student at Heriot Watt University during my master's in Brewing and Distilling. And during a conversation with some of the fellow industry leaders at that time, me being a student, I had a very obvious basic question that why there is no gin still out there where gin is becoming popular. And to be very fair, it's 13 years down the line. We think there has been a gin boom a couple of years ago, but we have seen the gin boom since 2007 or even earlier. So my obvious question, why there's no gin still, and why are we using stills from other processes? And it triggered me the idea to start designing a gin still because I was very motivated in going into the gin production because of my heritage, my background coming from India, using different botanicals, herbs and spices in our day-to-day cooking. So I was very intrigued with gin distillations and gin production. So since then, 2008 to 2013, I did extensive theoretical and benchtop trials and created a prototype design concept. Then in 2013, I joined Russell Distillers Limited, and at Russell Distilleries for Copper Rivet Distillery, we discussed how we can be a gin distiller with a difference. So we discussed about being a grain to glass distillery. And I also proposed to them at the same time that I have this concept prototype design of a gin still that I would like to work on, and I would like Copper Rivet to have it and maybe have a patent on it. After taking them through the design concept, they approved to have that still at Copper Rivet, and I started designing prototype designs for my fabrication. 2015 and 16, we went through the fabrication and installed, trialed. We have seen huge benefits from the still, which proves our theoretical calculations, and then we filed for patent in 2016. And on 2020, we have been granted the patent. So let's talk about the rationale for the invention. As I explained, that my question was why we did not have a dedicated still for gin distillation where everybody is producing gin and it's in such a boom. And what we have seen is constantly we have been adopting stills from different industries and different processes. For example, the most common was pod distilled, which is still been used in other industry, other processes for simple extraction processes where alcohol separation was important rather than solvent extraction of flavors. Where in gin, what we try to achieve is solvent extraction of gin rather than just separation of alcohol. So in pod distill, which is the most common kind of gin available in the market, we have pod distilled gin. In this still, I feel because the main aim of distillation is to separation of alcohols, so we do see it takes longer time for distillation, which creates heat degradation of flavor active compounds or botanicals, mainly the delicate botanicals. But we have also seen that there are advantages of the pot distilled gins. For example, secondary flavor creations. So we put all the botanicals in it in the hot boiling liquid. The extraction happens there, and the reaction, esterification reaction, and so many things going on in there that it creates so much bolder flavors when you're doing a pot distilled gin. At the same time, because of heat degradation, we do not collect enough product in pot distilled, and we end up getting vegetal notes and all these things. So these are the positives and the negatives of pot distilled. Second, vapor infusion, which is getting slowly hugely popular. Here, the great thing is heat degradation is not an issue because it doesn't get boiled. The vapor passes through the botanicals, extract the aroma compounds, and it gets condensed. So that's why it's a pretty much short path of extraction. So you do not get those heat degradation products. It might happen towards the end of the distillation, but you get good product recovery in here. But at the same time, because the secondary flavors are not created, you get a lighter body of gin. It's less complex gins, these are. And then we have got the recent popularity of vacuum distilled or low temperature distillation. And I have seen quite a few presentations in Gin Guild where they're talking about vacuum distillations, and one presentation, the presenter also mentioned that it is typically used for separation of waste, the product from waste. It is because you do not want much flavor extracted from the waste and all, and you separate the liquid. It is true, that's how the vacuum distillation works. It's separation of based on the boiling points, but at a lower temperature by reducing the pressure. And what happens, it has got a similar kind of effect as vapor infusion, is that you do not get heat degraded products. Okay, your botanicals are preserved, so you get effective extraction. But here the liquid are inside the here the botanicals are inside the liquid, so the extraction is a bit better. But because of lack of heat, you still do not have the secondary flavor creation happening, and that's why you also lack the complexity. At the same time, the vacuum distillation kits are expensive, so it's not the most cheap setup. So it is also restricted by volume. You can't really have a huge vacuum stills and all because of the cost. So you really get restricted by the volume that you can produce through it, especially distilled gin category where all the distillation has to be done together. You can't blend flavors after distillation. So for a London dry style gin or a distilled gin category, it becomes a challenge by volume in this case. So another rationale came into picture is the botanicals. Now if you think about botanicals and herbs, they all are different. They all have different levels of active compounds. They all have got different preference for extraction. So for example, juniper being something which is very hard botanical, okay, it has got resins which has got the flavor, so which needs soaking, boiling, while at the same time if you think about ginger as an example, it is a very strong flavored but delicate botanical. What we have seen, the fresh ginger, the flavors are very different if you think about a distilled when you distill the ginger. And it's the same thing with cooking, the fresh ginger when you have in your salads, and the same ginger when it is cooked, it has got much more caramelized, spicier flavor than the fresh ginger. That is because the chemical reaction that happens during the heat treatment. So all botanicals has got different preference for extraction, their temperature and their pressure conditions. So there are papers out there where they talk about juniper, how the extraction potential changes with pressure, how the extraction potential changes with the kind of solvent you use, based on water or based on you're using ethanol or not, your solvent extraction, and the products, the active compounds that you get from juniper. It also differs when you're using water as an extraction compared to ethanol as an extraction. So I've given the example of 3 major compounds that comes out from juniper, where you see the hydro extraction has got higher levels of these compounds being extracted than average extraction than if it is done using ethanol. So what it says is juniper, you have got different flavor come throughout all throughout the distillation. The reason being the ethanol levels in the liquid drops and the extraction changes because of the level of water being increasing in distillation. So these are things. This is the second rationale why we think we needed a gin still by itself, which addresses botanical based on their chemical parameters, their optimum chemical parameters for extraction. The third rationale being saying it again and again, loud out there, everybody is thinking the gin boom is happening. We are seeing so many different categories of gin forming now, so many different unique botanicals being used, yet there is no gin still which will address the parameters, their optimum extraction potentials. This three was the biggest rationale for the invention. Why no gin still? So I started working on it. Now let's talk about the patent, mainly the primary technology. So I'm not going to go through, it's too short time to take you through the whole patent, the whole design. So I'm going to give you the primary technology that is used. In our patent, in the Banik Still, it is a multi-chamber gin still, which provides different condition of extraction. So the first chamber that we have is a high temperature liquid extraction chamber, which also works as the boiler, where we have got, it is a heat source for the distillation. So that heat source is actually, you can control the heat source, what is the level of distillation, what temperature you want to do it, based on providing the heat and the alcohol concentration in that chamber. So that provides a heat. It also provides opportunity to put juniper in that chamber, which needs high heat, high pressure for effective extraction in there. So that forms a perfect scenario where juniper could be extracted its optimum level. Then, well, it could also, so excuse me, it could also hold other botanicals, which are mainly root kind of botanicals, which needs more hydro extraction, high temperature, high pressure kind of scenarios for extraction. Then we move on to the chamber number 2, which is low temperature liquid extraction chamber. That's where we put in other botanicals, which likes to get boiled for extraction, and also, but it benefits from lower temperature extraction all throughout the distillation. So I will say I like to use coriander in that chamber and other delicate root botanicals in there as well, like orris root can go in there as well, which likes gentle boiling, low temperature changing. And I would certainly emphasize that chamber is typically maintained between 78 to 84 degrees all throughout the distillation, but that could be modified as well by changing conditions, which I will not be able to discuss because of the time that's required for this presentation. Then we also have the chamber number 3, which is the vapor extraction chamber, which is a long part vapor extraction, where we want the vapor to just quickly extract the flavors, active flavors, low boiling active flavors out quickly, so that it doesn't get degraded, and it also do not pull out any thicker tannins from the botanicals. So for example, I like to put my lemon peels and the orange peel, citrus peels in there when I do not want to caramelize those peels to get more cooked flavor. This is for just a fresh lift of flavors. And also the beauty of this chamber is that one temperature is maintained lower than 80 degrees, so you can reduce or completely, if you can't completely omit, but you can reduce any heat degradation of those delicate botanicals as well. So I've tried rose petals in there with great success. Other flowers, absolutely no vegetal notes or heat degrade products from there. So this is the primary technology that is used in this invention, in this still. So let's now talk about the benefits that brings with some numbers in here. So one of the biggest benefits we found, first thing, is qualitative and quantitative boost of botanical flavors. To give you an example, this is based with the case study of Dockyard Gin that we produced at Copper Rivet Distillery. We have seen uplift of almost all the different botanicals that we use in our recipe. So we have seen huge uplift in the coriander flavor, okay, elderflower flavor, and juniper flavor has also been uplifted to up to around more than 20%. So along with it has also seen the reduction of botanical use. So we had to bring down the botanicals, specifically coriander. Coriander was so hugely expressed that we had to bring down up to almost 80% of the coriander use to get the same level of flavors what we're using in the lab scale. So this has happened when we're doing scaling up using Banik Still for Dockyard Gin flavors. So overall, we have seen a reduction of our botanicals by 70%, and it has reduced our cost of botanicals per distillation by 33% of reduction. So it is because the botanicals that is mainly being affected is the lighter styles. Juniper has maintained its flavor and more. So now we have got a really complex Dockyard Gin, which is citrus forward, thanks for the effect of the patented still, and also our elderflower and cardamom being the heart of the still has been beautifully bouqueted along with the botanical flavors, as well as grains of paradise has been beautifully noticed in the still now. Other benefit is alcohol recovery. That is one thing I would really want to talk about. The benefit of this still is because there is low reduction and how the still is designed, we collect 83% of the alcohol charge as product. We also get what we call a reusable charge back of 6%. So because of how the botanicals are placed, we do not put any juniper, though you can put, we do not put any juniper in our boiler chamber. That is why alcohol, which is used as a charge in that chamber, we recover that as a charge for the next distillation. And we have a recovery of 6% of alcohol. So if you think 89% of the alcohol that is charged into the still is actually recovered as, first of all, 83% as product and 6% as a charge for the next distillation. So 89% is an alcohol recovery, and you only get 10% as alcohol losses. So that is huge compared to, I think, the industry standard being around 80 to 82% being the alcohol recovery, and the rest goes in the waste as faint and faux shots. So we have got our faux shot portion is only 6% of that. So it is huge as well in that way. And we also produce a concentrated pot ale, which also means that could be sent to other industry where people used to think about aromatics being produced for what you got screen other perfuming industry, let's say. But yeah, it is concentrated pot ale. We are looking to use that concentrated pot ale to make bitters from it. But yeah, it is concentrated, only 6% of the charge. So now let's go to the other benefit, as we talk a little bit more about the reusable charge. So here's a picture of our charge that is left at the still. You see it's crystal clear. There is no flavor pickup from the still at all because how it is designed with the material choice. So you get 6% of LAA return in there, and it forms 41% of the charge volume, which also means that your water use every time is reduced as well in the charge, because you get 41% of the charge, out of which 6% is alcohol. So the water used for dilution to create the charge, whichever ABV you use at 60% or 50%, you'll be using less water. So you have got a benefit of alcohol recovery as well as water recovery from the process. Now, talking about pot ale, see, that's how concentrated the pot ale is. It forms 2% of the charge in alcohol, so you're wasting pretty less, and 8% of the charge volume it is. So that is also reduce your trade effluent. So you have to put it, if you have to put the pot ale down the drain through your trade effluent chamber, you're also reducing your trade effluent volume and use of water. Next, let's talk about what it actually brings this still to the industry. So the invention facilitates higher control over the flavor of spirits, because you hardly have any heat degraded flavors. You also reduce your botanical use. You have got higher extract recovery. So for example, 83% is your product, and 6% forms your usable charge. So 89% in total alcohol recovery you're getting, and 10 with 11% of waste only. And you've got compact concentrated pot ale, which reduces your trade effluent cost. Because of the higher control of the flavor, you get superior organoleptic character in your product. Reduction of botanical also means you reduce your food miles. Higher extract recovery means increased revenue, and compacting pot ale means also reduction in the chemical and water used for cleaning. So at the end of the day, what the invention is doing is making your distillation process efficient, consistent. You have better product with lower carbon footprint. And another thing I would like to mention, now this invention, that's why I'm not calling much on the still, this invention of these different chambers, this could be incorporated into your existing distillation setup without minimal downtime. That's how it is designed to incorporate into existing system. So that also benefits that you do not have to, if you want to invest in this technology or install this technology, you do not have to scrap your existing setup. It'll be working as a bolt-on to improve your process and quality. So that brings to the end. Thank you. If you have any questions, please feel free to write to me or anyone at Copper Rivet if you do not have my contact details. And I'm looking forward to questions. I'm so sorry, I have a habit of blabbering during distillation. During distillations, yes, sometimes during presentations I'm not a good presenter, so please forgive me for my maybe lack of presentation skills, but please do feel free to contact me. And thank you, Gin Guild, for giving me the opportunity to present our patented gin still technology to everyone out there, so that they can help to improve our gin scenario, our gin picture. Thank you.